Rankin give you a shout out?
Yeah, he's been really supportive. He's
You
got Rankins. I mean, he turns up most bookshelves.
Dude,
Okay, let's go. We gotta start,
There's
dude.
probably 100 Ian Rankins on here.
Oh, it's incredible. Wow, they're the real deal. Anyways, welcome back to another episode of This Korean Life, number 130, featuring Oliver Harris. Welcome, man. Thanks thanks for making it here on short notice. We were acquainted, 2 days ago? And then after chatting for about 2 minutes, found out you live in Nate's building. You guys have known each other for years.
Small city.
Yeah, no doubt. Small city of 1 million. It's amazing, man, when I'm teaching how many different people are connected. I thought that was only really small city, but apparently
Nate
up to
knows
a
everyone.
he's the mayor, you know?
Yeah,
He's the mayor, man. Good times. Anyways, we got you in here. We got two main things that we have to hit here. First is your epic marathon in North Korea. What an amazing feat. I don't know. They just reopened that, didn't they?
Yeah,
that was
first time for 5 years.
5 or 6 years.
First time 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I should say I did a half marathon just in the name of
That doesn't.
full disclosure.
The important part's that you went to North Korea.
Yeah,
No. I'm a runner. I'm listening. Yeah, that's
there's a
respect for that. Yeah,
There's a
for sure.
difference.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, I'd been waiting to get over there because I've been writing about it and I knew I was over here. I've been waiting to get there for about 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
And yeah, it was originally kind of down to do the tour 5 years ago, and then lockdown happened, and I've been hanging in. And as you know, I've got 2 weeks left in Korea, and if I hadn't managed to do it now, that would have been it. So I really couldn't believe that I managed to do it.
That came down to the wire. Awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
What goes? So you always wanted to do it, but what goes into the prep and sorting out the logistics of it?
I mean,
Is that like 6 months in advance or 2 weeks in advance, or how does it work?
in terms of the training or the visas?
No, not the training. Just the visa. Hey, I'll go do a half. I'm curious to hear about the logistics of it and the restrictions and everything else.
The logistics, I mean, this tour company, Choreo Tours, are probably the most reputable ones going over there. They've been doing it since the 90s.
I thought you have to go through them. Is that not correct?
You have to go through a tour company. For the marathon, I think they were the official
I thought it's
partners.
Choreo was.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're like Young Pioneer. They're also, can get you over there, though they weren't doing the marathon. So I think for this one, that was the only tour company going. They've got their connections that essentially means you can get the visa. But you have to go to Beijing for that.
Right, for the visa.
Yeah, you meet them in Beijing. The complications of that, of course, for me on a UK passport was getting into China. So you go to the Chinese embassy and you say, I need a transit visa. And they say, where are you going? You're like, kind of the DPRK, but I can't prove that in any way.
Yeah.
Turn you away. So then if you turn up just at the Beijing airport to try and get one of their transits without visa, which is kind of straightforward, but again, you need to show your flight ticket where you're going.
It's a 48-hour or something transit. Is that right?
They've now extended it to about 5 or 6 days.
It is, okay.
Yeah. But you just got to have your ticket out there. So I don't know if I should say this, but I had to get a cheap ticket to Hong Kong and pretend I was going to Hong Kong just to get into Beijing.
Oh, okay.
To hook up with the tour company, get the visa, and then get out of China before they knew I wasn't in Hong Kong. So,
But they wouldn't care, would they?
It turns out they wouldn't. I mean, it's a grey area. Everyone was saying, like, it's fine, it's straightforward, they don't check, but you
never know. You don't want to be that guy.
Yeah. Change of policy somewhere, that they ask, but I don't think they really take any record of what you're meant to be doing.
Walk us through what that is. So you arrive there, you already had the ticket to Hong Kong to get in?
To show them. And it was an odd itinerary because it had me coming back to Beijing to then fly back to Seoul. So it was a really hairy moment where the woman at the customs immigration was like, what exactly is this?
Rubber gloves snap.
Yeah.
Come for a...
But did you stay in Beijing a couple nights while they were processing North Korean stuff, or
so
you just stayed in the airport and went straight there?
No, I got there the night before. You have to go to a mandatory pre-tour briefing in Beijing where you pay your visa money, give them your passports to Choreo. They take it all off to the North Korean embassy, and then you pick it up that evening, and then the next morning you fly early with Air Choreo.
Everybody together? Whoever's doing this all does the same?
Yeah, this marathon tour, there's so many people, they actually broke it up into 2 tours. Some people went a couple of days earlier and left a couple of days earlier. It was about 180 of us in total, so about 2 groups of 90.
Wow.
Yeah, it's huge.
Wow.
So that onward travel thing has hooped a few people, even people coming here.
Yeah.
If you're coming here to backpack around Asia and you say you're going to take the boat to Japan, they say, well, we need to see a ticket.
Right.
So we used to book tickets because you say you're coming to teach, but I don't need a ticket out.
Yeah.
You'd buy a ticket to Japan and then cancel it as soon as you got here.
Right.
But that's pretty standard, I imagine, for all these guys, right?
It seems so, but it wasn't a great feeling entering China on false pretext.
Yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, it's fine. They don't care.
Doesn't Koryo take care of that or advise you on what to do? Like, isn't that?
I mean, they were the ones who, in the end, said, do this Hong Kong thing. I'd never have guessed to like get a fake, a ticket I wasn't going to use. But they were also saying, we're arranging travel to North Korea. We're not responsible for getting people into China. That is not. They're not a Chinese tour company. So
yeah, but they know you need onward travel in China.
I mentioned this to them after. I said, thank you for the help. You are going to have to assist people a bit because it's really complicated. You're offering a unique journey.
Oof.
Right? And it's only 180 people.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Hana Tours bring in thousands of people to here and there and packages, whatever.
But I think it's particularly for British people that's difficult. I think a lot of other people weren't having this issue for some reason. Anyway, they were very supportive in the end, but it was complicated.
Yeah.
It might set the tone just before you go in North Korea.
Yeah.
They just want to give you
I was very relaxed about the North Korean stuff.
Yeah. That's what it is. They set the bar high. And then
exactly.
Everything else is going to be okay. What are the costs associated with getting into North Korea or running the marathon?
The marathon is expensive. It ended up a couple of €1,000 for the whole package. With the visa on top of that.
That's staying in China?
No, that was 5 days, 4 nighs in North Korea. I paid a bit extra to get my own room. Most people were sharing a room, which would have brought it down sort of 1.5K. There are other tours significantly cheaper.
But this is the one.
Well, this is a good. I mean, at the moment, this is the only one.
But I mean, the marathon is one of their famous events. Most people don't go just on a whim to be a tourist. But
I think pre-lockdown, they were running several just straight sightseeing trips that you could do. I think the marathon's really popular.
It's it's very well known and well documented.
It's well known and well documented. But it pushes the price up a bit.
So what do you think the total was, roughly?
Close to €2,500.
Is that
So yeah,
$3,500?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I mean, amazingly, my university has part-funded it.
Oh wow!
I feel like I'm revealing all the.
Wow.
I pushed it as a research. Well, it is a research trip, and because I teach creative writing, research for a novel is a research trip. So, I'm in the process of trying to claim for that. That again, the complications of that was the university insists on. I mean, everyone insists on insurance and getting insurance for
documentation.
Yeah.
Sorry,
so it's all.
I don't think claiming that as a research thing is the problem. It's going to be when the North Koreans come and find out you were doing research on the marathon.
I tell you, like half the people there were YouTubers and influencers filming everything and kind of.
So Nate saw it and I did too. There's people running the marathon with the selfie sticks. Yeah. That's allowed?
Yeah.
The one guy said the North Koreans went all out for this marathon. They even brought in 100,000 fake supporters. And I was like, you can do that running down the street during the thing? Like, that's kind of...
Wow.
What's the guy who got caught there? Altenheimer?
The Warmbier.
Warmbier.
He took a poster off the wall or something and he got sent to the gulag.
I mean, this is the thing.
He's dead, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are strict rules and regulations, but they change and there's sort of grey areas. So...
But those aren't the grey areas you want to test. I want to stay in the safe area. North Korea is not a place to test the grey area.
It's not, but at the same time, I think the last thing they want is another Warmbier situation.
Yeah.
They just want you in and out, take your money, get some nice pictures of Pyongyang looking kind of shiny and normal, and get you out of there. So the things they were sensitive, so there was a lot of the marathon is stage managed. They know everyone's going to be on their best behavior, everyone's waving and smiling, and it looks great, have all these foreigners running it. The bits where they got nervous was the following days where you're doing sightseeing, maybe in a park, and people had more time to actually go up and potentially chat to locals, which they didn't. I don't think they wanted to tell us that was totally forbidden, because that just is a bad
weird
look. Yeah, but at the same time, they didn't want it. They didn't want that.
Encourage it. Yeah.
And some of the YouTubers and influencers filming that was where the guides would step in, and you start to notice them approaching locals afterwards, asking what the conversation was about, getting their details. So,
but the YouTubers don't care, right? Like I'm going to be one of like 40 people that have this video. I'll go all out. What's the worst? Trump will save me.
Yeah, I mean,
who cares if I get caught or something? I'm gonna push the gray area, like you said.
Yeah, I don't think they're even worried about.
No,
they just want they're young kids, they're in North Korea. That they want
clickbait.
It's clickbait.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
And if you get that's a golden ticket, man. If you get that one to go a couple million people, then they start clicking on all your other stuff.
Yeah.
Regardless if it's good or not, it's just the innate nature now of the internet. You just keep clicking away. But if you got that golden ticket with the North Korean stuff,
can you have you run any marathons in Korea or South Korea?
No.
They're every weekend here. No, I'm going to go to North Korea for research.
No, I would have loved to. I think I've got little kids, and as you know, running just takes time. You've got to take it seriously. You want to be able to put several hours a week in. I don't have that time.
Oh, okay.
So,
you did write a fucking 2-inch thick book.
I've been
I guess you've been busy. Yeah.
Writing and changing nappies. That's been my 2 years. Yeah.
How old are your kids?
My daughter's about to turn 5, and I've got a 1-year-old who was born over here.
Oh god.
So, yeah.
It gets better.
Yeah,
it gets better. Don't worry. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, my man. They'll be out of diaper soon and talking shit to you.
What you said? One package was this. Presumably 5 days, 4 nights. The other one would have been like a week, maybe.
It was the same length, just starting a few days earlier.
Okay.
Just staggered.
Yeah.
So did you get there and have 1 day before the race?
We actually got there the day before the race itself. So we got a quick look. We got there sort of in the afternoon, had a quick look at the routes, and we're then back to the hotel, straight into the race the next day, and then we did all the sightseeing afterwards.
What were your expectations going in?
I'd read, because I've been researching Pyongyang a lot over the last couple of years, I didn't think I was going to get actually there, so I thought I was going to have to base what I'm writing now just on other people's visits. And there's a lot of recent stuff about how it's kind of gentrified, how people have smartphones, it's bustling, there's loads of new glossy high-rises.
Just opened 2 days ago, no? 10,000 apartments.
Right, yeah. I mean,
2 or 3 days ago, they just opened that new center downtown.
And they keep, it's part of a 5-year plan, so they're going to keep coming. I think each year there's another 10,000. So
good time to snap up some real estate there, big guy.
Yeah.
I mean, apparently it does change hands. But, the party line is everyone gets a house for free, but in reality, there's a lot of trading, I think, on the black market.
Sure.
But so yeah, I mean, I was braced for it to look quite impressive, and there are parts of it that are. But what took me by surprise, especially coming in from the airport, there are still parts that are clearly so poverty-stricken and worn down. And once you get away from the new high-rises, it's still North Korea, and people labouring with very basic tools and stuff. So. And I had no idea quite how kind of paranoid and security conscious they were going to be. Initially, it seems remarkably open, and obviously your guides are trained to be really warm and friendly. And like a lot of people, the place becomes stranger the longer you're there. So you
start seeing more.
You start seeing more.
The luster starts wearing off.
The luster wears off, and you just realise how much. It's a performance.
Fake, yeah.
You visit places that when you pass them the next day, kind of it's all closed down and everything like that, you know. And everyone's
The one guy used to not Asia Boss. Somebody used to have the undercover documentaries there, and they'd go into like the Grand Hotel with seating for 5,000, and be the only guy there having 2 eggs and toast.
I mean,
He's like, what the hell's going on here? This is meant for the king of England, and I'm sitting here having eggs and toast by myself.
a lot of our, you know, obviously they have 5 or 6 really high-end hotels, and we went to most of them for kind of buffet lunches and whatever. And they're great, but you are conscious that once you're gone, the place will be pretty much empty.
Wild.
But I mean, you know, we did go to a new beer house with kind of 8 beers on tap, and it looked like anywhere in the West. And I'm sure it is used. There is, I think, an increasing amount of officials.
I was going to say, that's where government officials are bringing the Russians and stuff, right? That's not the average Joe's not.
No, not the average Joe, but perhaps like an expanding group of people with some disposable income. I don't know.
What kind of tunes are they playing in there?
It wasn't. Previous accounts are going to Pyongyang are very heavy on this North Korean K-pop being blasted out everywhere, and I was less aware of that. There's a fair bit of kind of revolutionary opera in the background. And some kind of jaunty North Korean hits, but it wasn't as in your face as I think it's been previously.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This downtown that you talk about, is this like, give us something to visualize? Is this just one 500-meter strip, or like we were in Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, and like if you went down the one street, you'd be like, holy shit, this is like Vegas.
Yeah.
And then 50 meters away, the rest of the country is nothing close to Vegas.
I mean, that's pretty accurate. Central Asia is a pretty good point of comparison. There's a fair few districts and streets now with nice-looking apartment blocks, but not the street-level facilities. So, you know, you're not going to get a whole strip of bars and restaurants. Those are very isolated. So yeah, I mean, back to the music. The tradition of waitresses stopping mid-meal to grab a microphone and perform is still alive and well.
I wasn't aware of that.
This is a brilliant.
I'd like to see that come to South Korea.
I mean, you'll find the footage on YouTube. They're good.
They singing about your meal?
I've no idea.
2 beers and sausage for you.
I assume they're singing about the wisdom of the supreme leader.
A perfect meal song.
Oh, that's hilarious. Wild. What about the quality of hotel?
The hotel we were staying at, the Sosan, was in the sports village. It was really good, as you'd expect, with kind of quite heavy retro vibes. It's like 20th century marble, kind of wood paneling. But
flower couch.
Flower couch.
No, you don't.
Here it's orange leather.
Orange leather.
Okay. And you know, and the room was fine. And probably not bugged, but who knows? But I mean, it was the lifts that were crazy, where you suddenly realise you're in a different place. There was no software to actually coordinate the lifts, and they were very slow, with people pressing buttons on every floor. So you literally had to allow half an hour to get up and down in the morning.
Wow.
And there was the only really scary moment of the trip was when the lift stopped. Was right after the marathon, 20 of us in it. And it just stopped between floors. And you just suddenly realise you're
not North Korea.
You shouldn't have been the 20th one on there.
I should. Well, it assistant that beeped if it was too heavy.
Usually it does that for me.
You're like, ding. Where is the nearest lift maintenance engineer? You know, probably Beijing.
Wow. Oh, that's pretty scary, man.
Yeah. So the people using these whatever, the evolution of Pyongyang there, would that be what we see, like the military officers, sports athletes, and government officials? Would it be restricted at, the downtown and the fancy places? Do you see the regular Joe on the street, or not?
No,
really?
I mean, the regular Joe looks incredibly tired and penniless.
Yeah.
It's exactly what you'd expect. in these kind of beer houses, there's guys in suits, women in nice looking clothes, you know, obviously in some way associated with the party at an elite level. You hear a lot about the nice apartment blocks being given to like professors and teachers and scientists. Who knows what kind of lifestyle they live beyond their...
All these software engineers that they just found in the Fortune 500 companies. Did you see that?
No.
They just, over the last 8 months or 10 months or whatever, a couple CEOs have detected that the people they hired aren't the people they think they hired.
Right.
And they're people from North Korea, software engineers, and they said over the last 5 or 6 years now, they have thousands of them in these Fortune 500 companies.
Do you see the new litmus test to get them out?
Say 2 things bad about the supreme leader,
Yeah.
and if they don't say it, then you can hire them. You can go on with the interview, but you know they won't say it. So if they do say it, then they're okay to hire. Yeah, great. Did I send you it?
No,
It's wild, man.
I was one, and then all the...
The millions and millions of dollars these guys are funneling in.
Yeah.
You start, you get in, then that's it. You work full time and you train us too.
Yeah.
And then we all work full time and we train 20 more. And they got one guy who had 5 jobs. He's working software engineer for 5 companies.
Yeah.
And now they got millions coming into the party and funding the missile defense systems and everything else. So yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, I'm sure they get some nice...
But I wonder how they control... Did you get any feel on how they control everyone still with handphones, the new buildings? Like, it's not like before where there was nothing to aspire. If they got the buildings and the places, beer houses, like...
I mean, it's just still so locked down. There's no room for maneuver. I mean, obviously, heavy surveillance, I mean, the bit you don't have access to as a visitor is all these like sessions that they're forced to attend where either they have to study the ideology, or if they have to talk about ways in which they've conformed, or point fingers at anyone who's lapsed.
I've heard about that. You rat out your neighbor.
Yeah.
Those meetings. Yeah.
So you don't get any access to any of that, and that's still
that's
massive.
a weird.
As expected, they're not going to bring you into one of them meetings. Can we get a famous YouTuber in to watch our neighborhood meeting?
Well, exactly. But without that, you have no sense of what's really holding the city together, or the people together.
But I'm just wondering when the revolution happens and when they start standing up and saying, "Hey, this is bullshit. You guys got high-rise apartments and beer houses.
Yeah.
Okay, that's enough. You used to live in like moderate kind of dirty apartments. Now this is getting too much."
Yeah, it will be very interesting to see if resentment grows. I mean, there's always been a huge power disparity, of course, but there's still just the craziest information control. I was speaking to really intelligent guides, fluent in English, really nice people you'd hang out with, but they didn't know that the English Queen had died. They didn't know who was Prime Minister.
Wow.
Didn't they, or are they just playing the role?
Possibly.
It's what I always wonder there. Like, I don't know if you could ever really...
I think you're a double agent.
I don't know if you could ever really know. I mean, surely with tours and people, and I mean, if anybody has access to anything, it would be those guys. Some of the guides.
Well, the question is how, because they don't have the internet, so you really can. I mean, the impression I got was you really can cut a whole population off from information about
How are young kids getting all the latest I've heard out of there is that they're like openly, I don't know, torturing, killing kids for watching South Korean movies and dramas.
I mean, a lot of USBs will come in.
Oh, okay.
They send them over in helium balloons, CDs.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah, the Korean church groups and stuff send them over. Sure.
And they come in and just from China. There's so much smuggling from China.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the kind of post-famine years, like there was because North Korea couldn't sustain itself, it was dependent on a lot of black market, a lot of smuggling. So people started getting access to all these. And I think in the past kind of 7-8 years, Kim Jong-un's massively cracked down on that.
Wow.
Because obviously that is going to be what starts undermining.
If you lose that young, lose some of those young guys, look out.
You lose everything.
Yeah.
I saw they banned tteokbokki and
right.
and budae-jjigae is no longer available. It was Chinese people coming and opening them, but they said this is exclusively South Korean.
Once you get a taste for tteokbokki. They do have their own kind of choco pies though. They've developed their because that was a big propaganda.
Do you know where those came from?
No, this is the thing. Is like we went to a department store that was
Kaesong?
Yeah. Kaesong. They was sharing.
Kaesong Village used to. That was the hottest item out of there. Was the old choco pie.
I read about it.
And the South Korean guys were selling them over there on the black market, and then it was the hottest item going.
Yeah. But yeah, we were shown around a department store that could have been in Seoul almost, but you just don't know where all the stuff's coming from. A lot of it says made in North Korea, but who knows?
Stickers are cheap.
But China, they can get everything they want from China. I mean, all of America is filled with Chinese shit.
Yeah.
So it's not very. You want Dyson, you want what? It all comes from China anyways. So there's no reason why they can't have it.
Wild.
Although I think even China technically has signed up to sanctions, so it's again a bit of a. But yeah, I mean, there's Chinese vehicles that have clearly just had the North Korean logo stuck on them and everything.
That's so funny, man.
BYNK.
Okay, take me on race day morning vibe. Like we've done a couple of races here, and it's a big stage, and there's one kind of MC leading 100 or 1,000 people. Maybe a couple thousand people anyways that are racing. They lead this big warm-up. Everyone does a warm-up together with some K-pop. And,
get some old grandpa rubbing your shoulders for you.
Yeah. There's little stations where people are spraying you down with the freezing... the magic sauce, sure. Big countdowns, 3, 2, 1. Everyone goes. There's shooting streamers, whatever. Give me the race day morning vibe of just North Korea.
For some context, was it only the 180 foreigners that Koryo brought? Was that it?
No, I mean we were supposedly running alongside North Korean runners.
Right, but I mean in terms of foreigners, was that it? Just 180?
Yeah, I mean there were the elite athletes.
I saw some Kenyans or someone. Yeah,
well, it was Ethiopians, I think, who were in our hotel. I mean, this is where it gets very surreal. They did have these elite athletes that, as far as I could tell, were 3 Ethiopians, maybe a couple of other nationalities.
That was the picture I saw, and I was like, they brought the Kenyans? Holy shit!
Who came in just a few seconds behind the North Korean guy who won, and you're like, I don't want to cast doubt over anything.
Holy shit! We watched.
Put that in the next book.
Yeah.
Jeez.
We watched we interviewed one of the Kenyan runners here, and last year we watched them finish. It looks like they're in fast forward compared to a regular runner. They're
I have to say, I mean, I very briefly chatted to this Ethiopian runner in the lift, and he looked like he didn't know what he'd signed up to.
Listen, bro.
He's ranked number 27,000 in Ethiopia, but he got to go to this special marathon.
Where he's ranked 2 behind
Kipchoge.
But race day morning was freezing actually, and it had this classic Pyongyang fog, which apparently is very characteristic of the city. I opened my window and you couldn't see anything, which made a very atmospheric but cold warm up. We bussed to Kim Il Sung Stadium, waited outside trying to keep warm while. Was it like 50,000, 100,000 North Koreans? Like
I think it's 100,000.
100,000 in the stadium. Started cheering, and the ceremony started. We were outside, and then we were very.
That warmed you.
You're an Olympian.
Yeah,
You're basically
that's what it felt like.
No, you can't show me many stadiums other than Michigan Big House where you get more than 100,000.
Yeah.
How big's Wembley? 80?
No idea. Probably bigger.
No idea. Well, the Big House in Michigan's 100, 120 or something, and then I think Ohio State's 110 maybe. But there's not many over 100,000. That's one of the biggest stadiums in the world.
Yeah, North Korea knows how to treat a guest.
Yeah.
It certainly knows how to get people like chanting in synchronicity. And they all had their little gold cones to wave. I mean, it was amazing. And then finally we were led in, told very quickly to get into position, and then we were off.
Do they tell you not to beat the North Koreans?
No, I don't think there's no date. I mean, they had their North Korean leaders. The annoying bit.
Or they just shoot you if you take 2 steps in front of them.
The annoying bit, someone just
they fire some
you.
warning shots. Hey, slow down, buddy.
There was loads of North Korean kids running. It was like, I really liked the idea of running alongside North Korean kids. But suddenly, a few kilometers in, they stormed past, like kind of an attack of mosquitoes or something. They're really small, really fast, and brushing past me. Apart from that,
where's my MP3?
Yeah, exactly. They'd be in trouble if they took an MP3. They weren't local. I was really hoping they'd be just local amateur runners, and they weren't. So that, that gives you an idea of.
But the guys in the tracksuits, I watched a couple of videos. The guys in the track, those are all like local kids?
Most of the people.
They didn't have like their Olympians or their athlete?
They had a handful of, I guess, Olympian North Korean runners in the elite marathon.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, they were far in the distance by the time I was out of the stadium. So,
is that the only 2 categories?
Yeah.
Full course and half course?
No, there was 5K and 10K. So
let's go.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people quite openly walking the 5K. I'm not, I'm here to see Pyongyang. Like.
So that's YouTubers are not. They're doing 5 and 10K for the most part.
Yeah.
Is there prize money for
North Koreans? Yeah.
I don't know what the elite got. North Korea wouldn't give prize. It doesn't.
21K. You'd have to go a fair distance out of the city, I imagine. Where does it take you, and like, what do you see?
I mean, it was a 10K and then back.
So 10K
the full marathon. Yeah, the full marathon I think did get to the kind of perimeter of the center.
10K outside of Seoul or from downtown Seoul, you end up getting a little bit outside there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you just get into where it's not the fancy apartments, it's just loads of kind of post-war concrete lower rise apartment blocks looking in really bad condition.
Would it be like old Soviet era kind of stuff?
Soviet era.
Like Russia was outside of Moscow. Like I was like shocked at how old Cold War-ish Russia was. Like,
exactly.
This is the chock-a-block. Like, it was like what Korea was like when we came here. Just concrete rectangles.
Yeah, exactly.
Every apartment, the whole country was the same.
Yeah. So very like Eastern Europe, very like Soviet Russia.
Crazy.
And what's the wildest thing you saw while you're running? Is there minders? Is there anything?
Yeah, there's
guy running with you, tapping you on the shoulder, or what?
Well,
slow down.
There doesn't have to be because there's so many minders along. I mean, there's some security guys along the route. Anywhere where there's a cluster of North Koreans, they're very nervous about bridges where you're kind of forced into proximity to North Koreans. You'd see the guys in the dark suits.
It's like they're tigers or something gonna attack you.
Every 10 meters or so, literally, there'd be a guy standing there who.
Every 10 meters?
Roughly, yeah. Wow. Where there was a crowd. And I mean, to some extent, the wildest thing was just people genuinely smiling and giving high fives. And you can have it, saying pali pali. They don't say fighting because that's kind of English.
Yeah.
They say pali pali. And I'd be like, himdallah. And, just that was the kind of highlight of the trip because that was natural, organic interactions. But then, there was one bit I saw people across on the other lane kind of giving high fives, and one of the security guys wasn't happy either because an adult had done it, or he just felt people getting too close. So even at its friendliest, you're always on an edge. But because there's not that many runners and it stops being bunched up, I was kind of on my own. I was just running past Kim Il-sung Square, just me and the North Koreans, and that was just mental,
That's wild.
Yeah.
How much was it the focus on actually running or caring about your time or whatever, or just taking in the experience?
It was all research, Nate.
I was just going really.
Let the record show it was all research.
You did have to finish. They tell you.
Those are the Google glasses, right?
Right. That would be useful. I mean, I wish I was rubbish at recording stuff. I wish now that I'd recorded more. Having kind of laughed at people with all the GoPros and selfie sticks, it would have been amazing to have it. But I was going very slowly, taking it all in, trying to protect my knees. But you did have to finish. If you wanted the stadium finish, you had to do it in under 2.5 hours for the half marathon.
What was your time?
Just under 2 hours.
Nice.
That's very good.
Yeah. It was a slow run.
Huh. Oh, that's good, man. Yeah, you don't want to blast through that one anyways.
No,
right? You want to
savor it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just that moment of, what the hell am I doing here? Holy shit.
Exactly.
This
Got
was
100,000
wild.
people cheering for
Especially as it was the first morning. It's kind of like...
I used to get it in Korea. Like, I got all these people cheering for me, high five, hey, fighting! They're banging the drums for me. Like, they don't do this in Canada, man.
That was just on your way to work.
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So I can't imagine what it's like, something like that.
That's
Wow.
wild. What are you guys eating at the hotel buffet? It was hotel buffet.
There's a
most
lot
of
of
the time?
hotel buffets or nice restaurants, often on boats, where you just got brought loads of dishes. It was all
No
good.
menus.
No menus. No. One pizza place where we could choose kimchi pizza, which is great. But I mean, I was really up for the Pyongyang cuisine, and maybe partly because that's
Grasshoppers and weeds, or what are you-
Naengmyeon?
the cold
what are you looking
noodles.
for?
Naengmyeon, there you go.
But it was very kind of, a lot of it was Western or kind of Chinese or just mix of stuff. It was all decent food, but it wasn't anything the local. You can see everywhere just like shikdang, but it doesn't say what it's serving. So I was just really curious to go into like.
They're not serving, it's just a sign.
Yeah.
Might have been. Might have been half a bowl of rice or something like.
Wow.
But you just didn't get any insight into that. So yeah, the food was good, but not what Pyongyangites are eating.
What was it like coming back into the stadium for the finish?
It's a tiny.
Was
bit-
it like what's the movie? Da-na-na-na-na.
Chariots of Fire?
Sorry, is it
It
like
might-
when you're coming in there, you're like, holy shit, there's 100,000 people waiting for me. Like, I've never had more than 10 people waiting for me, man. Like,
That's what I was
you
ready.
doing the moonwalk, or what were you doing?
That's what I was ready for in my head. I had the music playing. Unfortunately, because they'd started playing a football match in the middle of the stadium. They got the two top Pyongyang teams. I think obviously they've got all these people sat there for 4 hours, so they need some entertainment. By the time I got there, I think they realised the elite runners were finished and the attention wasn't on me. So that was fine. I understand that. I was still able to get a few waves as I did my final lap. But I wasn't the focus of attention.
You get the microphone like, oi!
Yeah. Some of us are still running.
You bastards. Oh, that's funny. That's funny, man. Awesome.
So was there like a medal ceremony or souvenirs, and what kind of stuff did you get?
I mean, over the course of the trip, there were a lot of souvenir shops, but there were medal ceremonies. Quite a few people seemed to get medals, and there was singing. Like everyone in the stadium knew the same songs, and there was stuff that you wouldn't get in Wembley. It was all very
The mass games, that thing's well documented. I mean, they're phenomenal. It's incredible.
So there was a slight vibe of mass games, but
That's what the tours used to be. Were for that. Korea used to run those tours for the mass.
They used to mass games.
Kim Jong Un's mass games or whatever.
Yeah, and they used
Mass games?
Yeah, it's the gymnastics team, the whatever team, and they in the stadium,
okay.
and they all have their placards. And
Okay.
that's what they used to bring in a lot of foreigners for that.
Yeah.
Interesting. What about souvenir shops? It's like Kim Jong Un magnets and.
No, because you can't be disrespectful like that. But a lot of kind of like girl in a hanbok with a North Korean flag magnets.
Okay.
But what they do sell, which I bought a lot of, but then got nervous about coming to South Korea with, is little
Heroin?
booklets of Kim Jong Il's teaching. There's amazing little books saying Kim Jong Il on the art of dance and stuff, or on songs.
Jesus.
And the art of cinema. So I bought all this kind of Juche North Korean ideology. And I was then like, I'm not...
Because Yoon Suk Yeol is still in power. His buddies are going to get me.
So I gave it to an English guy to send to an address in the UK.
Nice.
Because the North Korean visa was stuck into my passport, which was quite unusual.
What do they normally do?
Normally it's a piece of paper, it's detachable. So for some reason...
Well, my visas were always stuck in my... Like
Dude,
just a big sticker.
Not these. Then you're not allowed into like 20 other countries after that. They look and say, "Dude, you're not." Same when you go to Canada. Have you been to Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, whatever? You're not allowed in. Yeah.
Just for a marathon.
And I knew technically there's nothing wrong with a British citizen going to North Korea and then South Korea, but I knew South Korea is tight on bringing in North Korean propaganda.
Sure.
It still takes that seriously. So I was like, I'm not having this in my suitcase.
So he sent it from Pyongyang to...
He's now got it in the Philippines, and next time he's in the UK, he's going to send it to my parents.
Sounds like the guy's trying to buy my house.
Yeah, this is like, are you carrying something for somebody else? Nope, just all this North Korean shit.
But everyone obviously wants to buy the propaganda posters, and all the souvenir shops kind of capitalise on that. So you can get good posters, postcards.
How much does stuff cost there?
Not a huge amount. You're paying in like dollars or yuan, RMB, Chinese.
Yeah, usually you're not going to go to a bank and get North Korean.
No, but I mean, like, is something $1 or like $10?
North Korean one I can show you. No, it's cheap. They're not like, I mean, for them it's huge money, but I don't think they figured out what rip-off tourist prices would really be.
Yeah.
So it's a few dollars, like for a poster or whatever. It's cheap.
Not that warm beer poster, man. That was
Expensive.
Yeah, I mean,
pay the ultimate price for that one.
A lot of people talking about that, obviously.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, and yeah,
Well, yeah.
it's not that long ago.
Don't.
That's what I mean. Going there with those selfie sticks and stuff. Be like, I don't want any extra attention. I just kind of fly under the radar here.
And more suspicious.
And I mean, interestingly, the male minders would stay up drinking all night with the kind of the more party crew of the delegation, which is kind of great. I mean, I wasn't there until 5 a.m., but some people were.
You mean like some of the YouTuber marathon guys?
Yeah, and those kind of people, partying quite hard. And like really,
you gotta watch you don't say something stupid then.
Well, to be honest, like, so long as you're within the safe zone of the hotel with your minders, all what they care about is you saying stupid stuff to outside people. And
but this isn't like sitting around with the boys in the dressing room when you let out a Kim Il Sung or Kim Jong Un something. You're gonna get some problems.
Yeah,
I know some guys with some pretty hot takes that might be in trouble. A few North Korean whiskeys deep might.
Well, they have. I mean, apparently there were interesting conversations about culture war issues, homosexuality, transgender. What's the North Korean take? But I mean, what I think was happening was these guys were just keeping a very close eye. Their job was to get drunk with the Westerners to make sure there's always a North Korean around, so there wasn't a repeat of people doing something stupid.
Yeah.
And in the hotel, there's photographs of Kim Jong Un, and there's always a kind of concierge guy near them.
67 concierges is in the lobby.
Pretty much.
It's blowing dust off the pictures.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to, you could have. Did you have to sign up for that, or you just say, "Where's the party boys," or how do you?
No, I mean,
how do you determine you weren't part of that group?
No, I mean, everyone hits the bar in the evening, and then it's just a question of how long you're drinking for.
And the bar's in the hotel?
Bar's in the hotel. Yeah, obviously you're not allowed outside of the hotel at night. But yeah,
wild.
Good bar in the
How
hotel.
much is the beer?
It's about $2, I think, for a bottle of the Taedong.
I would have been there till 5 a.m.
Yeah, decent line.
What, you're doing the half? No, I'm doing the 5K. the walking 5K, and I'll be back for the 100,000 salute at the end.
Yeah.
So I don't get interrupted by the football match.
Time is you come back with the elite guys.
What were the other days like after?
Yeah, good. I mean, they packed a lot of sightseeing in. Went to the Victorious Fatherland Liberation Museum, which is basically a huge, it's got 100 rooms all about how America started the Korean War, tracing the glory of Kim Il Sung, liberating North Korea from its occupation. So, a distorted account, but very thoroughly documented. We sat down and made to watch a video about how it was American provocation. Things like the Juche Tower, the Arch of Triumph.
But that's the same as the Arc de Triomphe?
Yeah, pretty much identical. You can go up to it.
Yeah, it's an iconic symbol.
Yeah.
Is it just get on the bus, here's this, the guides tell you about it, get on the bus, go to the restaurant,
Like
get on
a
the bus,
Korean-
go here, or
Pretty much.
Korean group tour stuff.
Yeah.
is there a hangout at the market day or something? Or?
No, we didn't get to the market. It was sort of some hanging out at the zoo. That you could chat to local people. Was hanging out in a.
Are people looking at you? Is that the?
Well, the weird thing is how little they're looking at you. I mean, they glance, but you're like, they haven't had any foreigners here for 5 years.
That's what I mean. Are you like the zoo animals?
Why
People are
aren't
looking.
people staring?
Yeah.
They're like, everyone here is here because they've been kind of vetted and briefed. You know what I mean? Like,
what kind of animals do you get over there?
they got good animals. They got tigers and a giraffe. They seemed in all right condition.
Whatever. China can give them whatever. Russia can give them whatever they want, man.
Yeah,
I guess so. Eh?
I think that's it. They can get whatever they want as long as they don't have famines going on where they're dependent on the neighbors. If they can control themselves, make a little bit of their own money through nuclear and arms deals with other countries and this software engineering stuff, they can take care of themselves. It's just when they get too dependent and
Bitcoin mining.
People start running to China.
Theft.
The crypto theft, yeah.
The zoo, the National Library, the Grand People's Study House, which is the big building on Kim Il Sung Square. Some greenhouses. I mean, the greenhouses were an attempt to show them kind of getting a grip on agriculture and being self-sustainable. But the interesting thing was that obviously involved a drive out into the countryside where you do see the watchtower. Every field has its guard within a watchtower. You see the checkpoints.
That would be cool. Like seeing that stuff would be
so that then you're getting a glimpse of reality.
Interesting.
Fields just full of people labouring, soldiers working, and they get very sensitive about photos around that kind of thing.
Would you do it again?
I'd love to go back and see more. They used to run trips to the coast. Kaesong or up to Mount Baektu, and like I say, when you get out of Pyongyang, you get a slightly better chance of figuring out something of the reality, I'd love to spend more time there.
Have you been to the DMZ here?
Yeah.
You did do that?
Yeah.
How'd you find that?
DMZ here, I mean, when I went there...
Like Panmunjom, the tunnels?
I couldn't go to Panmunjom when I was there. You went to the tunnels, the viewing tower. I didn't get much...
That was like this time here, this 2 years you went and did that?
No, previous visit. It was interesting, but I mean, even the DMZ itself, let alone North Korea, I didn't feel like I was really getting access. It's a tourist...
No, well, yes and no. I mean, I agree. You don't feel like it's North Korea, but when you see Donald Trump standing there shaking his hand, you're like, I was there. I was standing in that room. That
bit had been closed down.
Okay.
I think if we'd got to the actual JSA area, it would have felt more meaningful.
Because that's, I've been there 4 or 5 times. I bring everybody that's coming, I send them there, and that's when Trump was there, and then that's where the shit goes down. That's where they do it. And then those guys escaped running across. 2 years ago, they shot the shit out of that guy.
And you get the sense of the two arms actually fronting off.
Right. And then you see this is our tower. This is our reconciliation building. This is theirs.
Yeah.
We built 4 stories, so they put 2 more stories on theirs. Then. And then they burnt it down, but blew it up. And then you can hear the propaganda, the audio recordings. You can the flag is like the size of a province in Canada. It's huge flags, and it was again. It's not the real North Korea, but it wasn't a tourist place. That part. The tunnel, even the tunnels and stuff were pretty like, whoa. They found this 78 or something right before not long before the Olympics, which were 88. So maybe late 70s, early 80s, they found the last tunnel that was halfway to Seoul.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, man.
It's mad, isn't it?
I like doing the tunnel tour, and you go down that's a door, and when you look through that door, it's another door, and that's North Korea. You're like, oh, cool, and there's cameras on both sides watching it.
They said they spray painted it black and told them they were mining coal. Who are they fooling with that explanation? But just to do all that by hand, the labor is just incredible, man. Wild.
Mm-hmm.
Any advice for anybody else signing up, going? I mean, get the ticket to Hong Kong. Don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
take a GoPro.
Yeah, film more than you think you want, and get yourself in the picture. Otherwise, Otherwise, it's just another picture. I'm so rubbish at that kind of thing. That's my advice. And have a think about visas for getting in and out of China. But I mean, it's a fascinating experience. But don't expect to know exactly what you have experienced.
It takes some time to unpack after.
Maybe just before we get into the novel, and this can kind of segue in, what is your interest in North Korea?
Well, I mean...
Now I'm starting to think your 2 years here was to get access to North Korea?
Partly. I mean, obviously, as we're about to speak about, I write spy thrillers. So my wife's South Korean. That got me very interested in the region and the peninsula. I don't have much material to use, so I have to use what I've got, and I had a growing knowledge of South Korea. Initially, I was like, oh, everyone writes about North Korea. I want to do, the darkness of South Korean politics. But the more I
worked, a good time.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't have been able to
just go to the jail. You can see the last 12 presidents there.
But there's such an interest in North Korea. In the UK, people's primary reference point for Korea is North Korea. It's crazy. Yeah. That I was kind of like, I'd be shooting myself in the foot, not somehow incorporating it. So then I was like, okay, so how do I write about both North and South together? So yeah.
Awesome. Aquariums of Pyongyang?
Yeah, read it.
You read lots of books?
Lots of books. Yeah, I mean, they all give you insight. A lot of the ones by defectors obviously have to have a tiny pinch of salt and read between the lines. They're inevitably quite out of date. It changes so fast. A lot of these books are about the 90s and the really dark times. So research is challenging.
What do you make of, what's her name? Youngmi Park?
Yeah, awful. Reading her book, even before I knew anything about her, there's a very odd vibe. Her personality comes through. She's an interesting case.
I think it's really sad in lots of ways, and how she's kind of been used around in the States. She's now a political figure, and this, and it's.
Do you think her story's got a little extra spice on them?
I get no idea, dude. I got no idea. If you read all the books and you watch the documentaries, all that stuff happens.
Yeah.
All the stuff she says happens. Is that exactly what happened to her mom, and her sister? I don't know.
Yeah.
But all that stuff has happened and does happen, and it makes sense how it happens when they get to China. All of it makes absolute sense. The Christian missionaries can confirm all that, the groups that save them and stuff, sure. But I don't know about her particular story.
Yeah. Tell us about Rebecca Sinclair.
Well, so the last book that came out, The Shame Archive, is a series featuring MI6 officer Elliot Kane. It began with him in Kazakhstan. That was the first one. And then went to Ascension Island for the second book. It's a fascinating little lump of rock in the South Atlantic owned by the British, but with a big US base on it. So I was kind of doing a very geographical focus for the series. The Shame Archive, I kind of went back to London. I was getting very interested in this idea of compromat on intelligence services using blackmail, using psychological operations on people. And the idea that MI6 has this archive of recordings and information on elite figures. And someone starts leaking it. So it's a kind of like what if scenario.
Okay.
And the idea of the establishment being brought to its knees just by dirt, by its own sleaze.
Interesting.
In this new era of espionage, people talking about kind of hybrid warfare and information operations and disinformation, where things are really very serious stuff is played out online in terms of hacking and releasing information.
Like a Julian Assange.
Yeah, like Assange, and WikiLeaks was the kind of big reference point. But even in recent US elections, there's stuff surfacing. No one knows quite how it's been accessed.
Yeah. How long have you been a writer?
I was gonna say, when did you write the first one?
Well, the first published one I think came out in 2011. So that was a previous series. That was a more like police crime series. So the Shame Archive is the 7th. So there's four detective novels, 3 spy novels out. So yeah, it's been about 15 years.
Wow.
But I mean, obviously I was writing before that, but to no great effect.
Always same genre. You're always
Yeah, for some reason I've always been into kind of plot-based thrillers.
Okay.
I'd like to.
You're a writer by trade, or you said you're for the university?
Yeah,
right?
so I teach creative writing.
Okay.
You know, like most writers, I need a bit of extra income to kind of prop up the writing. So yeah, brilliant having a part-time job at Manchester Metropolitan University that I've somehow been able to hold on to while here doing online teaching, and marking and assessments and stuff.
And hard research in North Korea.
And research in North Korea. Still milking them for their funding. But yeah, so I do that, and I do a bit of private mentoring and stuff. But yeah, kind of writer by trade.
Cool.
Yeah.
What was there a point in your life where you weren't a writer and then you made the decision like I'm going all in, or was it a slow gradual?
No, I mean it's my life is a constant process of like trying to avoid academia basically. Like my base territory, you know, I did an MA and PhD, so English literature, cultural studies, and I'm always like thinking. So that's the kind of parallel track, and then at various points I'll get a publishing deal, or I think I can manage without it, and I'll veer into concentrating on the novels, and then veer back to academia. Obviously, like everyone, I've done a huge amount of part-time jobs just to survive, but never had another career as such.
Cool.
How, just for a perspective, how lucrative or not lucrative is the publishing or
it really varies.
industry?
I mean, right now not that lucrative, partly because I'm just with a UK publisher, but it changes really quickly. So for example, the first 2 novels in this series sold to a US publisher as well, so suddenly you're kind of doubling your income, you know, within one email. They also sold some film rights. I mean, these tend to not come to anything. You know, a lot of novels sell the film rights, but again, you're suddenly getting a few extra grand in. And if it's film rights in America, like the Spy one was, then it's a significant chunk of money.
Nice.
But then it goes, and then it doesn't come again. So it's an insanely insecure and unpredictable salary as such.
That'll keep the fire.
But do you do book tours and visit high schools, universities, and do motivational speaking and stuff like that? Or?
I don't. In all honesty, it wouldn't help my career, I think, for what I'm doing. I mean, I could get a few quid out of it, but it's quite a significant amount of time.
Right.
And obviously, I'm writing adult novels, so it wouldn't be entirely appropriate for that. But I do library talks, you know, and they're just great for meeting people. And libraries have been really supportive in terms of getting stock in. I've done a few talks at prisons, which are really fascinating.
Wow.
And briefly ran a reading group at a prison in London. So I mean that's great for morale, really. Yeah. Getting
so
out
do
there.
you just give it to the publisher and then it's out of your hands?
Yeah.
Or do you have an agent that pushes and promotes it also at the same time, or is it just up to the publisher how good or bad it does?
It's up to the publisher. I have an agent, but what I've discovered is the agent is really solely responsible for selling the rights. Yeah. It's the publisher who then has responsibility for publicity. I'm kind of fortunate enough in a way to work with quite big traditional publishers, which means they get reviews in newspapers. You know, this is what they do. They've got a publicist who's got connections. They send the book out ahead of publication. I've been really lucky getting some decent reviews in like national media. What they're not so good at is beyond that, you know, because especially in this age of social media, they don't really have that many resources to put into ongoing publicity. Right. They're on to the next title.
Sure.
So saying, what's their incentive to keep promoting your book, or just kind of fizzles out? You get one shot, 6 months, 1 year, and then it's kind of that's it?
Exactly. Which, I mean, it doesn't totally make sense because they should be committed to an ongoing building a career. But like I said, if there was like 10 publicists rather than one, they could maybe do that. As it is, they expect authors to kind of run that themselves.
And do you have like a a social media presence where you kind of
You do now.
stuff, or
You do now.
I do
buddy.
now. This is it. This is my moment I've been waiting for.
You've made it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not great at it, and again, it's partly because the kind of cost-benefit analysis. Like, I could put a lot of time and effort into social media and get a handful of extra sales, and sure, it kind of snowballs and builds organically, but because it's not something I'm particularly into.
Yeah. Save your energy for writing.
I save my energy for writing. That's what I endlessly tell myself. It's not, there's a very strong argument for being better at pushing yourself online, publicizing yourself.
These days,
there must be a fine line there where like you say, the cost benefit analysis. What is the line of
Brandon Sanderson?
Who's Brandon Sanderson?
He wrote the Wheel of Time, like those big fantasy novels.
Yeah.
He, I was watching an interview with him, and he said he is totally off. What do you say? Outsourced all of his like daily habits.
Right.
Like, making coffee to like putting toothpaste on his toothbrush. Like, get my shit ready. He's like, I just write. I wake up, I get ideas. Yeah. I just want to walk through, pick up my coffee, brush my teeth, and just get to my desk, and I don't want to do anything else. And I think, just to make a parallel with the social media, I think
it's distracting. I think that's the main thing.
You just got to get Tay trained up to do your toothpaste there. Okay.
I can imagine the scenes going on for me, cleaning up the toothpaste for the rest of the morning. That's the problem. But yeah, it's distracting. Like, if I put out a tweet or something, I'm then not thinking about that, right? Even if it doesn't take up that much time, So, but there's loads of ways. It'd be nice to get involved with more events and get myself out there a bit more. So maybe I will.
How do you stay focused when in a world of distraction? How do you stay focused on banging out? I mean, that's the final copy. I'm sure that was cut down quite a bit to get to that.
And I mean, they're all about a 2-year process. I mean,
do you have your daily word limit, your daily page limit?
It's not. I mean, at various points for initial drafts, maybe a word limit, and then a lot of what I do is just going back and through a mess of notes, and I might say, I'm going to try and get through 20 pages today. I really try to keep mornings free for writing. I have my coffee, and I know I'm going to have at least 2 hours of energy, and that might be all I've got that day. But because I've been doing it a while, I know from experience, if you just do those 2 hours each day over a year, you end up. So that's the focus. Even without focus, if you keep going, it happens.
Yeah, okay.
And with 2 little kids and other jobs and
that's not that bad. But if you get a couple of coffees, and you can cut her down to 6 months and pound it out. I was going to ask: is part of the thing having a series? Is that part of kind of keeping the connection there? Like, if you just wrote one-off books, maybe people don't go for the next one. But if I read this one, then I go, shit, I want to read the other one. Is that part of kind of self-promoting, because you can't do it if you don't?
It does work like that, especially with now with Amazon and Goodreads and stuff. I mean, this one it hasn't been a bestseller, but I have noticed the backlist starting to get sales as well. So a series is really good for that. The downside of a series is if the first one doesn't take off, then you're kind of committed to another 6 years of writing. And the publisher and the publishing industry knows, you're probably not going to take off on the 3rd book or the 4th book. So that's a big downside. But it does mean that I got, a 2-book contract where perhaps I might not have got a 2-book contract. So there's a bit more security to write. Looking ahead, what's in the future of writing? Well, it's going to be quite an interesting moment of change. So I'll wrap up the Korean novel over the course of the rest of this year, and then I'll be finished with this series. It'll be 4 in the first series, 4 in the second series, and I'll be free to do something different, maybe more experimental, maybe more commercial, but I try and give myself a bit of time, because I haven't really been out of contract since I started, which means I've always got a deadline, and because of the series, it means I'm always slightly committed to a character. So I really want to take some time to kind of have fun with it and step back and everything.
Your main character, is he shagging lots of birds?
So English. No, I think people probably wish he was. He's far more kind of reclusive and intellectual and damaged.
Oh, okay.
And no one really likes that. No one wants that. He's
Okay. I don't know if he was like a James Bond.
No,
kinda,
funny enough, because
yeah, he shags a bit.
my London detective was quite wild and hedonistic.
Okay.
So for this one, I wanted something different.
Sure.
Which runs the risk of him just not being very exciting. But
Kinyakomakanori? What's that guy in Japan? Kimikomakori?
What is that?
recluse. The recluse in Japan. What's the name for him?
Oh, Kimi
He's
Komodo.
not that reclusive.
Kimikori.
He leaves his apartment. Cerebral rather than reclusive.
Ah, cool. Very nice. Listen, man, I wish we had more time. Or I wish Nate would tell me about the neighbors he has in the there.
Who else is in Dogs of War? Get them all on.
You got 2 weeks left.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
How's the schedule looking? You're pretty
hectic. Yeah. So next week I've promised my wife I'm not going to do anything apart from like packing and prep. And then because we got to move out of the apartment, get the deposit while we're still in the country. So we're gonna have to kind of move into a hotel, Airbnb.
You might have to shake the guy by his ankles, just grab him and hang him out the window.
A couple more trips to Seoul. Another trip to Seoul. Say goodbye to people there.
Yeah. Cool. It's always hectic. You can never just relax and enjoy the last.
It's been a while.
Last little bit. But.
Looking forward to getting back home.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's so much stuff to sort out, and people keep asking me this, and to be honest, I'm a bit too stressed to like look forward to it.
Yeah.
But I was like looking at activities for kids in London, and there is an insane amount of stuff in London. So. And
you came with an approach that you were just coming for 2 years.
Yeah.
And you knew you were leaving the whole time.
Yeah.
It's not like, let's see what happens, see how it is. You came with a schedule and a timeline that was kind of fixed.
Nice. Well, dude, listen, again, I wish we were acquainted earlier, but Nate, the keeper of secrets, you should write a book on it.
I got scared off with Mark and Kai there one night out over a beverage we had.
Oh, no.
Where were your like nice civilized friends?
We had the wild guys out. That was the night you finished the book or something, wasn't it?
Didn't
you launch it the day before or something?
Just been published, that's right, yeah.
This one here?
Yeah, so Nate threw a party for me.
Just a couple neighborhood guys.
We'll be back.
Peachy? Yeah. Oh, you'll be back?
I mean, obviously this is where my wife's family lives, so
beautiful.
Awesome, plenty.
If you need a place to stay.
Yeah.
Don't.
This neighborhood's great. I wish I'd spent more time here.
Yeah, fucking, you're in Oakdale with the dickheads over here. Don't tell anyone. Just the keeper of secrets.
The
fucking North Korean.
Yeah,
Song Park. Anyways, dude, thanks. We gotta cut it. You guys gotta go pick up the kids. But thank you very much for sharing your story.
That was fun.
Wicked.
Do get in touch when you're back. But that's it for today. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.